3-point view where drinking beer and talking sports is what we do. I'm Brock here with Clinton Brandon. We're here to talk about what's going on in college football right now. Jerry Lee Lewis once said, it's all shook up, because that's what just happened to college football. Because the man, Nick Saban, Mr. Perfect, the showstopper, has gone down. Woo! He has gone down, Mr. White Pants, Mr. Dyed Hair. You don't mess with the champ, boy. He has fallen. With the top 4, we got Clemson, Auburn, Oklahoma, and Wisconsin. Clint, which one of these big dogs is going down?
Well, it's not a big dog. I say it's a big tiger.
Big tiger.
Clemson is the only one besides Wisconsin that I think is going to go down. Clemson's going to go down. They're going to get pushed out. It's hard to put them back in the top 4 if they lose to Miami. Miami's not the greatest team out there, but Miami is the most popular team.
If those two are leaving, who's replacing them?
Well, if Wisconsin's leaving and if Clemson's leaving, Alabama's definitely in.
In Ohio State?
I want to say so bad UCF.
You know they're not getting
But they're not going to get in there. They're not going to get in there.
They're not getting
So
is there coach left?
I would have to say if Ohio State beats Wisconsin by 20 plus points, you gotta put them in. Even though they lost to Iowa by 37, you still gotta put Ohio State in. If they beat Wisconsin,
If they beat Wisconsin by 38, they're in.
Yeah.
Alabama being left outside the top 4 has it happened since the college playoff system?
No. It's happened, but they've got back in.
Yeah, but I'm saying when the dust settled, they're always in the top.
And Ohio State is too.
Yeah, they both have been there. It's complete disrespect. Just disrespectful that Bama isn't in the top 4.
But is it a popularity contest?
Whether it is or isn't, Bama right now, if I was a betting man and had to take all my money out of my bank account and place it on any one of these teams, even though they just lost to one of those teams, if you're going to line it back up and I had to have a safe bet, my safe bet is still on Alabama against anyone in the top 4.
Did Bama, being who they are, and taking out Francois, game 1 against Florida State? Florida State was ranked, 2?
I still don't
going
think
into the
Florida
first
State
game?
would be in
Well, what
there,
I'm
though.
saying is them demolishing that young kid, taking him out, destroying Florida State's season. In retrospect, it hurt Alabama. Their top win this year is against LSU. Who do they have other than LSU as the
What
top
about
win?
Mercer?
Oh, Ray Mercer. Do we even know where Mercer is?
Ray Mercer knocked the shit out of Tommy Morrison when Tommy Morrison was supposed to be back in the day. But anyways.
What about on 30 for 30 with Tommy Morrison where he just said out of nowhere when he was broke that he didn't have HIV anymore? Like, it just disappeared. Like, it's okay. Like, he didn't announce it or anything.
Right.
Magic ain't got it no more.
Well, Magic is dormant. We won't go into that. Let's get back to football. So, anyway, Wisconsin is the one everybody's giving no love to, no respect. They say they got speed finally.
They're not doing it. Power, they're known as a power team in defense, running all that. They aren't going to beat Ohio State with that left-handed quarterback. It's just not going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
It's like Kellen Moore back there behind center. You know who Kellen Moore is, right? Yeah, backup, like multiple backup his entire career. Played Boise State, all that stuff. But he has a weak ass arm, and it's not going to happen to Ohio State's defense.
So Clemson has a horrible loss to Syracuse.
Yeah, but they
lost
Kelly.
It's not even a football.
They lost Kelly Bryant though in
Yeah.
the second half of that. That's it.
That we don't go by ifs and buts.
But
All right, so even with that
but the
going,
committee does.
even with that going on, Auburn lost to Clemson, right? Who
Yeah.
then in turn lost at one point to Syracuse. Okay, Alabama lost to Auburn. So with that being said, how are they still not?
Hold on, why'd you muffle that? Alabama lost to who? Auburn.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah.
Look, I mumble, and he's known me for 30 years, and he's questioning me on air about me mumbling.
Hey, mumble be tuna.
Whatever. Anyway, so
Your balls are showing.
you never know.
Anyway, so go on.
I don't even remember where I was going. He's talking about the balls. You know what? I still feel Bama should be in there at this point. I'm not sure exactly. I almost feel like Clemson shouldn't be at 1. I don't know.
If you're talking, and this is
Why isn't Oklahoma one? They lost to a ranked team.
They lost to Iowa State, though.
They did
They're
lose
ranked,
to Iowa
right?
State.
But they lost to Iowa State. That quarterback that beat them, that was his first career college start ever.
But they're a ranked team,
Shit
correct?
happens.
They were ranked because their starting quarterback went down. This is a third string quarterback. Practice squad
Losing
guy.
to Iowa State is not as big a deal as losing to Syracuse.
I don't know. If you take the four best teams,
I agree
the four
with
best teams, this is what it's about. It's not popularity, strength of schedule, all the stuff. The college football playoff committee puts all the stuff together. But if you're talking the four best teams, you got Clemson, Auburn, Alabama, and who's your fourth? Because those three are head and shoulders above everybody as the
Say
best
Clemson,
team.
Auburn,
And
Alabama, Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
Right.
There you go.
That's the four best teams.
That's the four best teams.
But
Not strength of schedule, not everything else.
Yeah.
Four best teams.
so, what teams are gonna get stiffed and their fans are gonna cry all over?
I actually came up with this little question, and it was for one particular person. The gentleman to the right of me here has been singing the praises of this team for multiple weeks. And at first I looked at him like he was crazy, and I still do kind of. But as I looked into it a little bit more, he's right. They have an argument on why why they shouldn't be left out. And that team would be,
UCF.
okay. And you go ahead, you can take it from here. 'Cause
I don't know. Like UCF, the way they won last week on a kickoff return with like minute 30 left, but yet they're still in it. Like they're not backing down from anybody. Okay, and you know what it reminds me of is when Oregon and TCU were always on the outside looking in with those great records.
It took them years and years and years of outside to even get the respect.
Right.
Frost just brought this program into notoriety just now. He's got his bags packed. Man's gonna get paid. He's leaving. He ain't even gonna be there. I bet you by the time this next week he won't even be here.
It doesn't even matter. You know what? Next
I'm
year,
gonna stick with my school. What's his name last year?
Next year we're gonna be
PJ
talking-
Fleck.
we're gonna be
was
talking-
that the thing?
we're gonna be
Row the
talking
boat,
about
know the
Lane
mission.
Kiffin.
He had inspirational Tony Robbins crap going on up there, and all of a sudden he's like, "You guys row the boat because I'm leaving to Minnesota."
remember this, though.
because he got paid.
Do you remember when Oregon and TCU were the most popular teams? We're like, man, they are good. They were undefeated.
They were
one loss,
underdogs.
underdogs, everything else. That is UCF right now. And I really think if you put UCF, you remember how Ohio State was such a big ass underdog to Miami that year? The year Sean Taylor and Claret and all them were playing? Okay. So UCF reminds me of that. If they were to play one of them top four powerhouse teams, that they would surprise the entire country. But they're not going to get the love because of where they're at. They're outside the Power 5.
All right, we heard about your UCF. Let me tell me about who you think's gonna get left out. Everybody's gonna be crying about them.
I don't. Well, the goofy thing is, a lot of people are going to be crying about being left out, and that's reiterates. We were talking about this before we were going on air. I personally feel like it should be more than 4 teams. I personally feel like there should be 6, 8. I mean, you guys disagree that it should be taken to 8, but
I see 6.
no matter what, every year you're going to have somebody crying. Right now, looking on the outside of it, Georgia's liable to be crying, Miami's liable to be crying, OSU's liable to be crying. If Bama doesn't get in, I'm liable to be irritated.
I'd be protesting.
I'm not a Bama fan by any means, but I do respect quality organization. And his UCF they definitely deserve some kind of respect. I wish their schedule was a little bit stronger and maybe had a better win on there to where they had something else.
They don't have the resume.
No, they don't. I mean, so it could go. That can go anywhere.
I hate when you go someplace and you're like, "Why do you do things this way?" And then people respond, "Well, we've been doing it this way for years and years."
Right.
And you're like, "Well, have you ever thought about why you do it that way?" No, we just do it that way. Why don't they get over the fact that there's that Big Ten, SEC, all that? Why can't we just make it North, South, East, West? Why does it have? Why can't you just delegate the Big Ten as the North, and ACC as the East, SEC as the South,
Well, you gotta
and Pac-10 as the West?
How long did it take us to get to the college
I get
football
that.
playoff?
But I'm saying,
Right.
if you did
That's the next step. That's the next step.
you can make these power conferences, and in the end, you still will get your 4 teams. But there's more money to be made, more conversation to talk about, more highlights we can talk about because of this. But what conferences are like holding up the Notre Dames, the Independents, all these?
I mean, they're the only independent.
Right. So, but I'm saying there's conferences the Big 12, they're all holding on to this. Why don't, if one of them, all you need would be one of them to combine, they could do that. And the money's there to be made.
Oh, absolutely.
So, my team that everybody's going to wind up, I feel like Ohio State, because of who they are, I'm an Ohio State fan. You see it up here. I think what's going to happen is somehow they'll get in again. They'll play Clemson, and they're going to get their doors blown off again. Sammy Watkins needs to send Ohio State a fruit basket for what they made him. They put him on showcase when they played him against Ohio State.
What team is going to be whining that Ohio State got in and they didn't?
Georgia's a better team than Ohio State, and they're going to get
Ohio
better.
State's only getting to him if they beat Wisconsin by 20+ points.
But Georgia,
it could happen.
But Georgia, here's the thing: Georgia has a chance because they got to play Auburn. And Miami has a chance. So the only person they can be mad at the end of the day is themselves. But if Ohio State gets left out with a Big Ten championship, Ohio State fans are going to go crazy.
That's the whole, Penn State.
So, with all this going on, everybody but wants to beat Nick Saban. He's the one they call for. Rick for Georgia went to Miami Hurricanes. Great coach. Couldn't beat the big dog. Couldn't beat Saban. So he left. He's created that new culture.
Remember last year's score, though?
What was the score?
59-0.
I didn't know that.
So in this, you got Jimbo Fisher just leaving Florida State to go to Texas A&M for $75 million over 10 years plus.
Besides the money, why would you want to do that?
Maybe he's ready for a change of scenery. I mean,
he was only the head coach for a few years after Bobby Bowden.
Yeah, you can't tell.
Exactly, one national championship, all that. He was just asked on his radio station the other day by a fan, "Where's the loyalty?" And they kicked that fan out of the radio conference.
That fan's probably.
And then what happens the next day? This.
Also, we got Mike Leach going to Tennessee. Tennessee botched that complete coaching search horribly. Whoever handled that, did they boot him yet?
Yeah,
what time is it? Because they probably booted him by now.
They booted him.
Anyway, so Schiano, who was remotely related to the Penn State
drama
scandal, remotely, and he's being.
What was he, 20 something at the time?
Yeah, and nothing ever really came of it.
Because his name was brought up by that Leary guy.
Leary or whatever came off and said that Schiano witnessed a little boy being touched, but Schiano never admitted to it, and nobody else ever admitted to it. His name was brought up in one of the most scandalous things that I can recall.
I don't think Schiano would have been a good fit anyway. All his roots go back to the East Coast: Penn State, Ohio State, Miami.
He was successful at Rutgers. Why?
He's been successful at a lot of places.
He wasn't successful at Tampa Bay.
I was for sure that because he was on the coaching staff when Penn State won that national championship with Kerry Collins in 1990. Was it 4?
That was such a good team.
Anyway,
Kerry Collins, Kajana
so
Carter.
I thought he was sitting in the cut, waiting for Joe Pa to retire, and then Schiano would go in. But because of this, all this scandal and everything, his world got kind of flipped upside down. He went to Tampa Bay, then he went to Ohio State. But where out of all these coaches, what about Mike Leach? He's bringing the spread offense.
He's got that air raid offense.
Yeah, right? I'm ready for it.
He's got that air raid offense. I think it's a good hire because it's different than what Tennessee's ever had in that regard. But then if you think about it, you bring this offensive juggernaut.
What's the name of the new AD they hired?
Philip Fulmer, ex-Tennessee coach.
All right, so what ties does he have with any of these guys that are being talked about?
I don't think he has any of those ties.
See, that's one thing a lot of organizations seem to, that's where they start to flub up. They hire an AD, and then they just bring in a coach that the AD is not familiar with, or vice versa. They hire a coach and then
this
bring
is
an AD.
what I would do. If I was Tennessee, you got Philip Fulmer that comes in as an AD. What about T. Martin?
I thought they were going to
hire
him. What about T. Martin?
They acted as if he
Think
wasn't
outside the box
qualified enough, is what they were trying to say.
Go outside the box here and get T. Martin.
I agree with that. One thing I can honestly say I'm enjoying about this story in particular is Lane Kiffin is having a blast with it. Did anybody see any of his little tweets? He's going. I mean, he's having a good time. I'm not sure exactly what's been going on, but I listened to a radio show. I can't remember the name
He
of the
trolls
show.
Tennessee and Alabama.
Alabama all day long, and he came off and said Nick Saban. He's not really trolling Nick Saban because Nick Saban's too old and doesn't have a Twitter, and like he's been all over the place, just having a blast with it.
Yeah.
If you guys get a chance to look in on it, go ahead.
Out of these coaches, Jimbo Fisher, Chip Kelly, Mike Leach, all these guys leaving, which one has the best initial season next year?
Next year,
Yeah.
definitely Chip Kelly.
Chip Kelly, UCLA.
Definitely
You
Chip
think?
Kelly.
I think he already
He's
got that.
already
he already got
got-
that region as
Yeah.
far as recruiting
Yeah.
established.
Yeah, he's already got that. And Jim Moore was a passing quarter.
Yeah,
passing
so
coach
he's already got
anyways.
he's already got the
So yeah,
First-
And
the
I think
personnel
he's
to
going
run
to
that.
have
Right,
the most
exactly.
success
exactly.
at that school than any of the other new hires.
Jimbo
think
Fisher.
he's
I do
gonna
not
have
like
that.
Jimbo Fisher, and I don't know if it's because of his first name, but I just do not like Jimbo Fisher at all.
We've established
Wow.
that Clint does not like Jimbo Fisher's name, but we'll see in a minute here at 3 Point View.